In this session, I'm going to cover the first movement of Tai Chi, known as commencing the form, as well as the second movement, known as Wild Horses Parts His Mane. I'm going to do both the static version as well as the moving version, which follows along with the book. So for commencing the form, I'm going to describe a few things about your posture to kind of get you set up. This is carry through for most of the movements that you're going to be doing as far as alignment and the way that you want to hold and carry yourself. Some of this information will be covered in other videos as well. So please, take note and try to acclimate to the guidance as best you can. Okay. So starting off, once we get into the movements, what's going to be very key is going to be your foot and knee alignment, as well as the way that you turn yourself from the waist. Okay. So in this particular case, your feet are going to be shoulder width apart, roughly. Toes are pointing straight ahead, as well as the knees. Ensure that the knees are not dropping inside of your feet. You want to kind of push them open as if you have a rod or a stick between your knees, keeping them open. Okay? As we get into the movements, you're going to have a natural bend or natural squat. And this will be your posture that you want to maintain as you go throughout each movement of the form. When you stand naturally or upright, you're still going to have a slight natural bend. So don't lock out your knees and don't allow your chest to protrude and your back to arch. You want to kind of keep these in a relaxed state. The relaxed state will be flattening out your lower back, hollowing out your chest, and allowing your knees to have a natural bend. Notice I'm not slouching forward. Okay? And I'm not lifting my chin. My shoulders are relaxed. My chest is hollow and my back is rounded. With the arms just hanging down loosely. And this is the vision or the view from the front. Hollow chest, natural bend in your knees. Toes and knees are aligned. Okay, getting into the first movement, both static and the moving version, they start the same way. You're going to start with both feet together. So in reference to the camera and direction, this is my right side. This is my left. My feet together, going into the first movement, it's called commence the form. I'm going to pick up my left heel and let my weight drop to my right side with a slight waist turn so that my center sits over my right knee. This allows for me to maintain good balance and good structure by having all my weight directed to the leg that's supporting me. In this case, my right leg is going to provide the support. I'm going to step out roughly about shoulder width with my left foot with just the ball of the foot. As I come down, let my weight fill from toe to heel, standing in a natural, relaxed state. Allow your hands to come to the front of your thighs. From here, we're going to go into the next portion of lifting our hands and letting our hands just float up roughly about shoulder height, away from the body. Now we're going to allow the elbows to bend, so the back of the hands kind of come towards the body and begin to drop slightly about mid-torso. You're going to kind of reach out with your left hand, start to lift your right hand slightly so you can scoop your left hand underneath the right and turn your center to the right knee. So your right hand and your left hand are above your right knee on your right side with your waist turned to the right. Now if I turn back to the middle, my hands are already with the center. So in this case here, I'm turning my waist to the right. My hands are aligned with my right knee. My left hand is scooping down. Notice the arc. So not too flat, not straight down, like you're holding something round. The hand up top is angled. Notice the elbow is lower than the hand, keeping me from having to carry the weight of my arm with my shoulder. I let the elbow relax down. The hand kind of goes up on an angle. Relax palm. So don't stiffen your hands out or lift and arc your at the wrist or bend at the wrist. It's a natural open palm. Up to this portion, we go to what we call hold the ball. It's going to be very common through every movement that you see. But this is how commencing the form ends. Okay, go back to the beginning. Commencing the form, drop your weight into your right leg. Pick up left heel. Step out to your left, shoulder width. Drop your weight, and then bring your hands to your thighs. Lifting your hands about shoulder height. Bend the elbows. Begin to bend your knees into a semi-squat. Your left hand, right hand drops. Reach out with your left. Scoop underneath as you turn your waist to the right side. Additional note, I'm shifting and pushing my weight over to my right, even in the static form as we're doing at the moment. The next version I'll demonstrate is the movement. You'll understand a little bit more explicitly why the weight is shifted to the right side. Once again, back to the beginning. I'm going to change angles so you can get it from a different perspective. Commence in the form, drop your weight in the right, step out with your left, shift weight in the middle, bring hands to the front, lift hands shoulder height, bend at the knees, bend the elbows, mid torso with the hands, reach out with the left, scoop in, right over left over right knee, shift your weight to your right side. I'm going to show you the moving version of the same movement. Not much difference at all. Here we're going to coordinate the hand and foot together. So in the moving step, you bring in the foot. Notice that the knee is pointing out to the left side. My front knee or my right knee is pointing straight as I started. This leg is pointing in the direction where I'm going to step in the next movement. Just as a demonstration here, I'll be stepping over to my left side. With my hands, I want to visualize I'm holding on to something that's keeping me stable. Not very stiff. This you have to visualize. Like you want to hold on to a rail or any bars or anything that's going to help you maintain your stability. So that when you do move your feet or your foot in this case here, it doesn't disturb your balance. Okay? So once again, commence in the form. Commence in the form, moving. For wild horses, parses, main, I'm going to demonstrate the form from the beginning. We're commencing the form, and I'm going to link it together with wild horses, parses, main. Then I'm going to break it down, sort of like in a drill fashion, allow you to get the movements incrementally, and that way it forms a better way for you to practice and get a good understanding of how the movements connect. So demonstrating the form from the beginning, starting with commencing the form. This is the moving version. Wild horses, parses, mains, done 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to cover the next movement, wild horses, parses, main. I'm going to provide a demonstration of both the movements commencing the form and wild horses, parses, main connected together. And then I'm going to break down the mechanics of wild horses, parses, main in a drill fashion. I'm going to kind of give you a breakdown or kind of a explanation of the name and where it derives. Okay, it is wild horses, parses, main. So, in reference to this movement, it's referring to a shoulder movement. A movement here from the shoulder as far as the martial application. With wild horses, parses, main, it's envisioning a horse and his snout having a long mane coming down, and it wants to shift the mane to one side. So to do so, it takes its shoulder to throw the mane. So wild horses, parses, main. So the movement here is a shoulder throw. Okay? So it's wild horses, parses, main. Parses, main is throwing its mane to the side. Wild horses, parses, main. Okay? An application, it can be viewed, if you can envision this. I'll provide some videos later on in reference to the applications with a partner. That way you can kind of see it in play. From the hold the ball posture, it can be viewed as a kind of like a parry or a block. A hand is coming in, and then you can catch, hold the ball with the hand underneath. This hand is going to pull their body. So if you can imagine, arm is coming in, I hold, their arm is here, I'm pulling their arm, and then I'm going to catch underneath their shoulder with my shoulder. And as I step, I want to free this hand, and I want to sling. Okay, it's a quick movement. Okay, wild horses, parses, main. Okay, now I'm going to demonstrate the form from the beginning, commencing the form and wild horses, parses, main in a moving fashion. Now I'm going to demonstrate the same movements from a static perspective. The movement wild horses parsus main starts from the end of commencing the form, which is hold the ball posture, right hand over left over right knee. Similar to what we've discussed with the yin and yang concept, you're going to see the exchange of yin and yang kind of explicitly in this movement. The first thing you're going to notice is the shifting or turning your waist to the opposite side. So I'm going to go from my right side to my left side. I want to stay in your legs. So as I go back to the right, stay low, shift, turn, and just pivot. Shifting your weight over, sorry, pivot, I meant to shift your weight and then push over. Going back to the left side, just keeping the hands where they are for right now. Shift and turn. Better perspective. You can say turn and shift. Whichever best correlates to the way you want to refer to it, okay? So my weight is explicitly shifted into my right side. My left leg is kind of free of responsibility, so that means if I want to move it, I can. It's not an issue. Same thing if I turn and shift my weight over to my left side. It shouldn't cause me to have to push my weight over any further. I'm already stable into my left side, so I should be able to bring in my right foot with a sense of ease and a sense of balance. Notice that my center is turned to the leg that's supporting me. In this case here, this is my left side. My left leg is supporting me. My right leg is kind of free of responsibility. Okay? This is kind of an explicit explanation of why you're shifting and turning. Don't lean with your head off to the side. Don't push your hip out to the side. So your hip should stay aligned with your knee and your toe. Okay? When you start to move, you'll see there's a more explicit alignment. So if I'm using my right leg here just as an example, if I want to use my hip and knee and toe together, they kind of rotate in unison. So I'm not like leaving my foot in place and trying to rotate my knee, or trying to leave my knee and foot in place and rotate my hip. If I want to engage my hip, I have to engage my knee and my foot to give it the freedom. Okay? Otherwise, when I rotate, I'm just turning from my waist and not necessarily engaging the hip. Maybe a slight movement, natural body movement of bringing the hip around to the other side, but don't allow it to just drop inwards towards your center. It's going to stay kind of flat on the plane. This is your hip. Okay? So once again, with the movements, we're going to include the hands. The simplest way to kind of get an understanding of the way the hands move, you can start to rotate the ball in your hands. As you get from side to side. So that changes your hand position. This is not going to be the final position of wild horses parsus main, but it's giving you the movement coordination that you're going to utilize. So I go back to my right side, my right hand comes from underneath, my left hand starts to go down, and then I can catch the ball. Right hand over left. Alternating, same thing. Now, if you get a good practice and good coordination from just the rotation of the hands, notice how they move in conjunction with my center moving and turning. When my turn ends, my hands in position, coordinating your movements together. Now, the actual movements or the explicit position of the hands for wild horses parts main, starting with hold the ball, which is the ending of commencing the form. Your left hand is going to go over to your left side and come up. Your right hand is going to slide right past it, pushing down. Ending with left palm up, right palm down. Again, as I mentioned about the yin and yang concept, notice the explicit opposites. Palm up, palm down. One hand up, one hand down. Shift your weight from right over to the left. You're going to catch the ball, turn the palms. One palm up, one palm down. In this case here, left palm is facing down, right palm is facing up. Going back, same movements to the right side. Right hand comes up, left hand passes right by, pushing down as you turn your center to your right side. Your right hand ends roughly over your right knee. Your middle finger should be able to drop it. Should be roughly about nose height. Your left hand just above the waist, or the bottom hand just above your waistline. Catch the ball once again. That was 2 wild horses parts main. The third and final is going to end on your left side. Left hand is going to rise, right hand is going to drop, turn and shift. Wild horses parts main to the left, left hand over left knee, right hand is pushing down. Come back to the middle. Okay, let me cover those again. I'm going to do it from a different perspective so you can see it from a different angle. Starting with commencing the form, right hand over the left for hold the ball, posture over your right knee. Your 3 parts of wild horses parts main. Your left hand is going to come up as your right hand pushes down, pushing your weight to your left, turning to your left. Left hand rises, right hand slides by, left side. That's number 1. Transition, catch the ball, left hand over right, or hold the ball posture. Back to your right side, right hand rises, left hand pushes down. That's number 2. Catch the ball. Third and final, wild horses parts main, left side. Catch the ball. For now, we'll close. Let's cross your wrists. Separate your hands. Okay. Once again, I'm going to do another perspective facing in my left direction here so you can get it from a different view. Starting from the end of commencing the form, wild horses parts main. Left hand rises, right hand pushes down, go to your left side. Catch the ball. Now to your right side, number 2. Catch the ball. To your left side, number 3, third and final. Catch the ball. Close out, cross your wrists. Separate hands. Okay. So when I cross my wrist and bring my feet back together, that's the general closing for your Tai Chi form. So you can get into practice of doing that as well, regardless if you're doing the moving step or the static version of the form. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of break down a little bit of the moving version of the form. In this case here, the footwork is going to kind of be more of a focus as far as getting you to understand how to coordinate those with the hand movements you just learned. Okay? So one of the common things with the moving step are the different stances. In this case here, we're going to be working on a particular stance called the bow stance. And again, I'm going to show you from different perspectives so that way you can get a good understanding of the alignment. Okay, the bow stance is to kind of similar of shooting a bow. One leg is forward, one leg is back. Okay, I'm going to explain it to you is in reference to the distance, the width that you want to look for, and also the gait that you're trying to achieve. Okay, so there are two sides, your left side and your right side. So whichever leg you have forward is the dominant side or the descriptive side. So a left bow stance will be a left leg forward. A right bow stance will be a right leg forward. Okay, so the principles of the stance, I'm going to start with the left side bow stance here first, because generally that's the stance you're going to step into initially in your form. Okay, so with the stance, your left leg is going to be going forward. Your right leg is going to be kind of like your anchor or your base. So first you want to create that anchor and base, just as demonstration, by having your back foot, which is in this case here my right foot. I'm going to lift up the toes, and I'm going to rotate and pivot on my heel about 45 to 60 degrees. I know you may not have a protractor, but you got to have a rough guess. You don't want 90. That means you don't want your heel and your left foot and your right foot to kind of be on the same plane. You want to change that angle a little bit, okay? So now that I have it kind of out as a wider base, I'm going to lift my left heel, and I'm going to step on the same line I'm already on with my left foot. And this is where you're going to be able to judge your gait. So whatever weight you have into your right leg, that's how far you can step out as far as your flexibility and the best range of your gait that you want to step into. Because you have to be able to maintain your balance and maintain your posture. So when I step forward with my left foot, keep myself upright, bending my knee on my right side into stance. I'm then going to turn my waist and then kind of pour water into my left foot, filling up my leg so that all my weight, the majority of my weight, I should say, is in my left foot. My right foot is kind of pushing and anchoring forward. My hips are square over right aligned down my center line. Don't allow yourself to tip forward or bend forward. And definitely don't let your head lean forward. Don't arc your back to try to create the structure of being supported. I'm going to change perspectives here so you can see from different angle. So this is what I'm referring to. Don't allow your back to arc. Flatten your back. Round your shoulders. Hollow your chest, very similar to what we've discussed before. Okay, so this is a bow stance known as my back foot. Still aligned with my shoulder through my heel. My heel and my shoulder are aligned. My front foot is aligned with my left shoulder here in this case. Knee and toe are aligned. Watch my knee. Make sure your knee stays behind your toes. Don't allow your weight to drive into your knee. It's going to bear a lot of stress on the joint. It's going to make it a little bit more susceptible to injury, as well as it's not going to do anything for your balance. You're driving too much weight off of your frame. So you want to make sure that your knee kind of goes as much as midway to your toes, if you will. All right. And if they have to go close to the toes, make sure they don't go past. Now with your weight, you're going to feel a lot of it in your quads. It's okay. You're going to be strengthening up these muscles. It's going to help you provide for good balance, stability, and control, and overall general stance consistency. Okay? And what I mean by that, you're going to transition from one stance to the other. You're going to need to rely on your stability to be able to transition or step forward into the next movement without being disturbed in your posture, okay? So this case here is a left bow stance. Now just to change it up, right bow stance. I'm going to step back with my left foot. Make sure I turn it off on an angle. So again, pay attention to the angle. Knee, toe alignment. Don't let your knee dip inwards. If I turn towards the camera here, don't let your knee drop in and your foot's out on the outside. They should be aligned together. So again, this is a right bow stance. Hips are tucked, chest is hollow, back is rounded. Now I did mention earlier about not to lean forward. In this particular form, it's called the modern form. There's not too much of a lean. In traditional form, there's a little bit of a lean coming from the legs, but notice the angle. I'm not letting my backside stick out and leaning forward with my head. What I'm doing is tucking my hips and driving the whole body kind of an angle forward. So there's a lot of weight bearing in this particular posture. For right now, we're kind of just tucking the hips, keeping ourselves a little bit more upright. So this is what is called a bow stance. In this case here, the right side. Okay? How this applies to the movements of the wild horse's parts main. I'm going to take it from the commencing the form ending. The foot's going to be on the inside or brought into the inside with your knee pointing in the direction you're going to step. Excuse me. So in this case, I'm going to step to my left. I'm going to ensure that I step shoulder width wide. From this perspective, so when I step out with my left foot, I want to ensure I'm not stepping on a straight line so that my heel and my toes are on the same line. I want to step forward and slightly out to where my shoulder is going to be. The hand gestures are the same. Left hand rises, right hand pushes down. I want to pivot so that my waist can turn towards my left. My hips are going to sit square, and I'm pushing my palm down on my right side. So the key thing I want you to pay attention to right now is the alignment. Shoulder, knee, toe alignment here on my left side. Shoulder, hip, knee alignment on this side. Notice the knee's not rolling in, the hips not dropping in, they're open. Hips are sitting square, facing straight ahead. Kind of a slight turn to the left if you want, which is going to be going towards your supporting knee. In the ending posture of the hands, wild horse's parts main on the left side, your right palm is down, your left palm is up, going off the center line of your body. Back to the beginning. So commencing to form the cue, the next movement, you bring in the hand and foot together. Wild horse's parts main is done 3 times. Number 1 is to your left. Shift and turn. Okay. To transition to the right side, you're going to shift your weight from front to back. Push your weight back. Use your your left hand to lift your toes. Your palm is going to turn your toes out, pushing your weight down so that you can hold the ball and bring in the foot. Similar to the end of commencing the form, except for the opposite side. Once again, you're going to step forward and out, this time with your right foot, toes pointing straight ahead. Changing hands, right hand rises, left hand pushes down. Right side, wild horse's parts main. Let's go back just a little bit so I can go ahead and show you the third. Same transition. Sit back, Your hand lifts your foot. Your hand turns your foot out. Your hand pushes it down, dropping your weight. Your bottom hand, in this case your left hand, pulls in the foot. Stepping out. Third, wild horse's parts main. Left hand rises, right hand pushes down. Turn and pivot the hip forward. Cross your wrists. Step up and relax.